Good afternoon. My name is Zach Campbell, and I am a Delaware born and raised man, raised in the beach town of Rehoboth Beach. Ever since I was little, I was always fascinated with history and hearing about how we came to be as a nation and all the intriguing things that go on in our world every day. One of my earliest memories is actually sitting with my dad and watching the History Channel. There is something about history that is just so fascinating to me, and I could sit in a class and learn about history all day long and not be bored. This is why I want to do something with history and for my future career. And after a while, the idea of becoming a museum curator came into my head, which is something that would be right up my alley. But for this, I would have to get the highest degree in my field, a doctorate degree. But becoming a curator is something I would love to do, where every day I get to look at priceless artifacts and collect items that hold hundreds or thousands of years of history and stories behind them, and be able to research these items and trace back their history is just so fascinating to me. Lately, the field of public history has taken a new role which is incorporating technology in the profession, and museums are no exempt from this charge. And honestly, I believe educational technology will be the rejuvenation that museums need to attract a brand new generation of museum goers. Because the generations that are going into museums are more fascinated by the technology on their phones than the exhibits themselves. And I believe if we change that, so we incorporate more technology in the museums, then we'd be able to attract a whole new generation and keep their attention. The latest educational trends that are being used in museums today are Erasmus and Kahoot. According to AAM/AUS.org, the American Alliance for Museums, these tools are great for when school groups come into museums and the tour guide needs something to keep their attention and hold it for the remainder of the tour. While Erasmus can be used on certain exhibits or artifacts to interest the students incorporate their use of technology on their phones, while Kahoot can test their knowledge after an exhibit and be used to show the students certain artifacts that might be too fragile to handle, while quizzing them at the same time. Another educational trend that is rising in museum educators is the idea of mobile museums. This is a technology that would be similar to Erasmus, but would allow the viewers to view their objects on their phone and manipulate in and zoom in and out and twist the object to get a 360 degree of the view, while being able to see every aspect of it. These technologies are still in their alpha phase according to ArtMuseumTeaching.com, Meeting the Future Head On article title, but having the technology is one thing. You must also have the attitude to incorporate this in your museum and keep the attention of your tour. This is an area that is up to debate for public historians. Many historians, according to AAM/US.org, believe that using all of this technology will take away from the general feel and value of museums, so that you are appreciating your phone more than the artifacts that are standing right in front of you, and will cause almost a desensitization and a lack of awe for these important pieces of history. While on the other end of the debate, according to scholarship.shu.edu, integration of mobile technology into museum education, are historians who believe that this will breathe a new breath of fresh air into museums and be able to attract guests and keep them more entranced by incorporating their phones or technology that they have, so that they are not just looking only at the exhibit and then walking by, but rather would look at the exhibit and use their phone to learn more about the artifact and examine it. If I were to ever incorporate synchronous technology while giving a tour, I would definitely use Nearpod, which would be engaging and allow me as a facilitator to control what they're seeing. And I could have it open the whole time we are walking through the exhibit and move the slides when we arrive to a new artifact. So that way they're having background information such as looking at their phone while I'm also talking to them, so they will have double coverage of information. I could also put it into a questions and free response or have them draw something if we were at an exhibit that allowed for some free drawing or creativity, such as an Egyptian exhibit. Or I could use the virtual tour and take them to Egypt exactly and show them the Great Pyramids. While on the other end of the spectrum, if I were to use an asynchronous technology, I would use GoFormative, so that way I could give them the codes and they would be able to go to the site whenever they wanted or whenever they had free time and look through all the pictures I could put on there and the information that would be related to the exhibit we are talking about. So if it was the Revolutionary War, I could have pictures and paintings of battles or famous individuals while also allowing them the chance at responding to certain prompts so they had to think critically about what they are learning in the exhibit. I believe that these two educational technologies are important in the field of museum work because they allow students to learn on their own with GoFormative and be able to look at artifacts even if they are not in the museum, while Nearpod allows me to give the students something to think about while they're in the exhibit with me, and it can be used for further in their knowledge that they are coming their way. Education technology will influence my career as a curator and tour guide because I will not only be able to influence my students as they are coming into the exhibit to learn, but also give them something to look at even after they are done with GoFormative. But also the idea of Erasmus and allowing students to have the 3D experience of looking at an artifact is amazing. I think I can really bring a whole new light into the field because this way it's not just some artifact you're looking at in a glass case, but rather something you can manipulate and you can see right before your very eyes, and have information that goes right alongside it of what you're looking at. I believe technology will rejuvenate the museum industry, and I hope to be one of the people leading the charge to incorporate technology in museums for a whole new generation to enjoy and appreciate.